Now, coming to tonight's session, please allow me to welcome Sumanas, the moderator of this session. Sumanas is employed in a telecom software solution company, Mavenir, with overall 13 years of work experience in the IT sector. He is a product enthusiast and contributes in developing network solutions in 4G and 5G space. He is currently handling a cross-functional role as a senior product owner, managing several networking products with various global telecom operators like AT&T, TMO, DTAG, Vodafone, and Rakuten. Sumanas is a proud alumni of the Institute, pursuing the EMBA program in product leadership. Great to have you here with us, Sumanas. Handing the session over to you now.
Thank you, Shama. Thank you for the introduction. Good evening, folks, and welcome everyone. Thanks for taking your time out on a Friday evening to attend this webinar. Though the weather is gloomy outside, I am really excited to be your host this evening on the last show of the Product Leadership Festival 2021, Data and Analytics. We have had some amazing sessions over the last couple of weeks from industry experts. Audience, as always, do indulge and immerse by posting your Q&A on Zoom, LinkedIn, or any other portal that you might have logged in from. In continuing enriching our knowledge pertaining to the importance of being a data-driven for a PM, it is my absolute privilege to introduce you to the keynote speaker for the day, Arpit Agarwal. Arpit is a VP Analytics and Data Science at Katabook with 12 years of industry experience across sectors such as fintech, shared mobility, fashion retail, insurance, and technology. He's known for his work in the areas of dynamic pricing, funnel optimization, IoT analytics, customer retentions, and hyperlocal geo-based analytics. Previously has been associated with Zoomcar, Mu Sigma, Oracle in the capacity of analytics leader. He's a person behind envisioning and developing India's first driving score mechanism, which aims at building a safer driving ecosystem on the Indian roads. Previously, he also pioneered the NPS rollout across the fashion and retail industries in India. He has won several awards for his work on improving customer experience through analytics. He's passionate about two things in his life. First being the analytics, of course, and second is music. He's been part of the rock band, the Oxymorons, as a guitarist. Great set of accomplishments. Kudos to you, Arpit. It's great to have you here with us today. Before I hand over the session to you, I have a question for you. Since you're part of the fintech now, I wanted to know your perspective on how fintech has evolved and disrupted almost all aspects of financial services, including payments, investments, customer finance, or insurance or security settlements, and how in particular data and AI analytics is fueling this growth and revolutionizing the financial industries. Your thoughts would be really appreciated.
First of all, thank you, Sumanas, and thank you, Shama, for your kind introduction and a fantastic question asked, Sumanas. I think this is kind of the decade for fintech industries. And the major revolution that fintech has had on India and in fact globally is that it has brought inclusivity. Previously, if you talk about like a couple of decades back, fintech services, it can be payments, it can be insurance, it can be deposits, anything or loans. They were more prominently available to only the upper middle class or people living in metros or Tier-1 cities. But because of the evolving nature of technology, now even a person who is having a pawn shop in a Tier-4 city take digital payments through any medium possibly, and there are big companies doing advancements, right? So in this field, so I think that is a big thing that has happened, and it's good for everyone that people are able to now transact to anyone, right? It has opened up channels from direct sales for supply from the supplier direct to the customers. We see now D2C models have come up. There are companies who are shipping goods directly from the agricultural fields to the consumer sitting in Bangalore home, right? And payments is one of the enablers for that. Now, how data plays a great role there is, first of all, whenever you talk about payments, you talk about risk, right? And until and unless you mitigate risk, people will never trust you with payments. So one of the key roles that data has played in any company you talk about is by mitigating risk and figuring out that the person who is asking you for payment or person who is giving payment both are legitimate. And creating risk model, analyzing the fraud behaviors is one of the big pieces of data that has gone into it. Also, data has played a great role into analyzing that how much should be the payment volumes that one should allow, right? How to increase the adoption for credit card, debit card, UPI. So all these insights that come out, user insights come out through data, help us build the ecosystem more safer and spread it much faster in the country. Yeah, so that would be my take on this financial ecosystem right now.
So that was insightful. And on that note, without much ado, I would hand over the session to you on today's topic: 5 tips for better interlock between product managers and data analysts. So handing over the session to you now.
Okay, so welcome everyone, and I'll share my screen. Sumanas, you can let me know if you are able to see and everyone would be able to see. Just give me a moment.
Your screen is visible now.
Okay, awesome. And is my voice loud and clear?
Yes, very much.
Great. So guys, before I start the session, I would urge everyone, whatever questions you have, please write them as Sumanas and Shama described, either in the chat or on LinkedIn threads, wherever you're present, and we'll try to answer all of them today. So today's session is not a hard session. It's not a hard skill session where I'm going to teach you any technique of data science. It's one of the softer aspects of product management that makes product delivery very successful. And being working in the industry for long, almost 12 years, and with product-based companies for almost 6 years now, right? There are some insights that I have got, which I want to share with you. And the topic for today, as you see, is what are the tips that can help build a strong foundation or a strong relationship between product managers and analysts. So if you would see in company, people, the product managers are kind of the owners of the product. They have to decide what should be shipped, what should not be shipped, what should be scaled, what should not be scaled, right? And they have a very big team along with them of analysts, designers, technology developers, right, and customer support who help kind of support and build this product. So how do we kind of build this interlock well enough so that things work seamlessly? We'll be talking about that today. Okay. So the first question that comes to my mind, or I think would be coming to your mind also, would be that why should I care about this interlock, right? Everyone is doing their own job. Why do we need to build these relationships? So the main reason for that is that if you see a product is not a part of the puzzle. It's the complete puzzle. And you would see some acronyms here that I have written: PDTNA. So you can maybe type in the chat what they would mean if you would guess them. But P stands for product, D stands for design, T stands for technology department, and A stands for analytics. Okay, and as you see, this puzzle is product is very similar to that. So product is just like a puzzle which will never be solved, or is not solved until and unless there's a good interlock between product, design, tech, and analytics. Right? They all have different skill sets and they play a very pivotal role in deciding whether the product will be a product market fit, or whether we can scale it, or whether it be successful or not. Right. So the earlier we start seeing a product as a puzzle that we have to build together, the sooner we'll be successful in delivering a good product. Now that we know that why this interlock is so important, right? So let's understand how would you figure out in your company maybe that do you have a good interlock or not? So let me talk about that a bit. Okay, so we'll discuss some common signs of a bad interlock, right? And obviously the opposite of that is a good interlock. So let's start with the role of a product manager. And you can type in the chat if you have heard such statements being said by the product manager, or if you are the product manager, have you said that? The first statement is that analysts are not providing insights, they're just pulling data. Or it takes a lot of time and iterations to get to the answer or make a decision, right? The other could be that for the technology team, that there are so many bugs and QA errors by the tech team almost in every release. And a lot of times the product itself have to be rolled back. Or the third would be that teams are not taking ownership. Now, why am I the only person who is thinking about the product and not others are thinking equally, right? It's their product also. Right? So these are some of the signs of bad interlock, which are from a product manager's point of view. Now let's think about this designer. How would they think about a bad interlock? So a designer can say that product manager did not explain the requirement properly, right? So we were not involved. We did not know what to build exactly, right? Or the requirements keep changing very frequently. Yesterday it said something, and today they have changed the requirements completely. How am I supposed to design, overnight change my designs? If we talk about the analytics department, you would hear them saying that we are not involved. We are involved only after the product is built. We were never involved in the inception of this product. And how are we expected to give insights in a couple of days if we don't even know what has gone into building this product? Then they might say that PMs are not explaining the larger picture. They're just giving me a task to pull data, to just to give ad hocs, and proper events are not present in the data. How will I analyze it? So these are common sites that we see. And if we talk about the technical department, as a developers or engineering teams, then a most common thing you would hear them saying is PRD is not detailed enough. The product manager hasn't covered the edge use cases. They haven't thought through the PRD. It is not detailed. They have missed a lot of common use cases that should have been told, and because of which everything is getting delayed, or even the requirements keep changing frequently. So if you are facing these kind of words or sentences or overhearing them in your company with any of these roles, it means that there is a need for improvement of interlock between the teams. So today's session, as you know the topic, we'll focus on interlock between two teams. We will focus on product managers and business analyst team. How do we improve interlock between them? Okay, so the first and the most important, I would say, is define the goal together. It's not about defining the goal individually, that an analyst think this should be the goal of the product and a product manager thinks something else. Until and unless you do it together, take each other's input, that relationship or interlock is not built. So for a product manager, because they are the initial primary owner of the product, right? So it's their job to figure out an analytics POC who will act like their alter ego through the complete product development lifecycle, right? There should be one person. It can be one-to-one mapping with the product, with the analytics team, or there should be one person who they kind of trust with the analytics, and they share everything with that person. They ask for suggestions. They ask for, what should be the success metrics of this product, and so on and so forth. So figure out that one analytics POC within the analytics team for your product. Now, how I will be talking about is I will talk from two lenses on every slide. I will talk from a product manager lens, and then I'll talk from an analytics lens. So for the product manager, at this stage, it is important to prepare your core team. And I have written there PDTA. It means one person from the product, that is you, one person from design, one person from tech, and one person from analytics. Now, these are four people who would form your core team, and they should know everything from day one to day end, what is going in your product. Okay, so this is the inner circle of trust. The second is talk to the potential product users and do industry research to evaluate the requirement. This is very important in this when you are defining the goal, right? Sometimes I have seen personally that we go a lot by intuition, that because a competitor has already launched this product, you just assume that you will also be successful. You just assume the target group. You have to do your own primary research, right? Don't just, it's a big investment, both from developers' point of view, from all resources point of view. So do your research properly. Then the third point is defining the success matrix. Of course, the product manager would know what is the larger objective they're trying to solve with this product. So they have to define the success metric and take inputs while you are writing the PRD, take inputs and review it thoroughly with all the team members on board. Okay. The best thing is you get everyone on one call and do a couple of calls, and you can freeze it very quickly. So this is from a product manager's role perspective. Now let's see what it means from an analytics role perspective. Now, the role of analyst in this stage of defining the goal is you have to aid consumer research, mostly from a quantitative angle, because that is what data you have. That kind of validates the potential of this requirement of product, right? Are there a lot of particular type of users who are looking for such kind of product feature? Now, these insights you can get either from feedback analytics. You would have done some surveys, you would have done some calling, right? Or you would have seen a great drop off in your product funnels, and you think this feature would be a potential solution for that. It can be anything. The second is in this role that the analyst has to do the event instrumentation. That will also be used to evaluate the performance later of the product feature. And the third is, of course, define the success metric. Now, success metric is something that the PM and analysts have to come together and define it. Okay. And we have to make sure that whenever we are defining it, we also look at the positive and the negative aspects of the product and the overall impact. Right. So once we are aligned on this, then we are kind of set to do the analysis or even improve the product forward very quickly. Okay. Now let's move to the point number 2. Point number 2 is continuous communication with equal partnership. Now, product development is a long journey. It doesn't happen in one day, 1 week, or 1 month. It takes several months to build a successful product with a product market fit, right? From inception to defining a goal, to writing a PRD, to developing the product technically. I'm more talking about a digital product, to analyzing then, rolling it out, scaling it, so on and so forth. There's so many partners involved in this, right? So there is a need for continuous communication. I think communication is one of the key reasons why the interlock fails. So how can you do that? Let's talk from a product manager's point of view. So the role of a product manager here would be, they have to discuss the product development updates. Okay. Even if the product is not completed, doesn't matter. Keep sharing these updates continuously, and this fosters equal ownership. Now, some of the ways that I've seen this could be done is, like we personally in Khatabook would have a lot of Slack channels where we put all the people who are relevant to a product in the complete life cycle together and keep sharing updates, whatever is happening, what is, if the timeline is delayed or a particular feature or product is developed and you want to review it, if the designs are ready and you want to review it, you can kind of just keep putting everything there and keep giving updates. So this makes everyone feel very involved and they feel equal partnership. The third point is that once the product is launched, then you have to keep the analyst involved in the user inciting piece that you're doing. So mostly the product managers would call up the customers and ask for their experience. How have they liked using the product? And they would take that product post-usage feedback. So sometimes this feedback is kept with themselves. And because of this, there is a information disparity between different teams. So until unless this information is passed to the analytics team, they would not be able to do a good job. From the analytics point of view, I have divided into 2 parts. One is before the launch of the product and one is post-launch. So most of the companies involve analytics post-launch, which I think is not right. So to foster equal partnership, they have to involve before launch. The first thing that they can do while the product is building is they can develop dashboard wireframes for performance measurement and align the wireframes with the PMs. Now, why this required is so that as the product is launched, you don't waste time in developing wireframes. Then you can utilize this time of development of the product to build your wireframes. Second is that whenever the product is launched, it is generally goes through an A/B experiment. So the analysts play a key role in deciding what the A/B experiment should look like. Generally, they would pull out the right cohort of people. They would discuss with the product managers and decide that, okay, we should target this product to the power users or non-power users or users of a particular state. So that kind of discussion should happen and they should design the experiment together. Now, when we talk about post-launch, then of course, the key things will come that what is the performance of the product. So once the wireframe is developed in step 1, then step 3, they can track the daily funnels of the product, see what's the adoption, what's the retention, and take a decision on further rollout. Should it be scaled as it is, or should there be any parallel improvements before scaling? So this kind of structure will make sure that both of them feel equal ownership. Now, let's come to the third point of interlock. The third point of interlock is, again, the most pressing issue I've seen: discuss problem statement, do not discuss tasks. So, and this is some of the things that I keep hearing a lot from analytics teams across different companies. Even when we recruit people, there's a general problem that they are treated more like a data delivery mechanism, not really seen as someone who can give insights. Okay. So there has to be a lot of trust between the two teams here, the product management team and the analytics team. So how we can do it is, let's talk it from a product manager's perspective. So have open-ended discussions. So sometimes what happens is that PM would think about a lot of hypotheses why this problem can happen, and they would just give the one hypothesis to the data team to pull out the data. So instead of that, if we have open-ended conversations and we think out loud that this is what I'm thinking, these are some of the hypotheses that come to our mind, then I think analytics can be more involved. And don't just ask for data, ask them for suggestions. So so they force them to think on very unstructured problems. From an analytics point of view, it's their job to ask the right set of questions. Sometimes the analytics team do not ask the right question, they just take the requirements as it is. So it does not force the product managers to think much before giving the problems. And they kind of become then a person who's just keep on doing ad hocs one after the other, but the problem is never solved. The second role is that analytics team has to proactively help the PM with ideas for improvement. It should, most of the time I have seen that the analyses are reactive. It means that some problem will occur and then you will figure it out and then you will try to do the RC why it has happened. Proactive means that you have to figure out from the feedbacks, from the early signals of funnels, that what can be a potential problem, validate that with users, either through A/B testing or through user calling, and then start working on it. Okay, so that is what I mean by proactive. So if such kind of open conversation happens between these two roles, the interlock will be much, much better. I have also listed down 3 key questions because sometimes people ask, okay, I have to write the ask question, but what are the right questions? If you structure your questions in 3 ways, first is, why do you want to do this? So this kind of clarifies the objective, what is there in the mind. Second is, if I do this, how will it add any value to the product? So this helps you understand what is the priority. Sometimes it is just good to know. Sometimes it is very important, and sometimes it's very urgent. So it'll help you decide whether it should be prioritized or not. And third is, what is the desired state? So if a person knows the desired state, they can come up with good recommendations or suggestions or see the insights from a particular point of view, right? Where it can be helpful. So moving on next, let's go to the fourth interlock. Fourth is a much more softer aspect. It's more like a emotional intelligence question that should be there between the team, and it says empathize and support. Okay, now I could think of this as a perfect image of one person being a product manager, one person would be an analyst, right? So how important the support is. We do not live in a perfect world, guys. If I talk about the PMs, right, the product managers will miss some edge cases in the product requirement document. Okay, they will never be perfect. They will forget to involve you in some meetings where you felt that you should have been involved. They will miss to give you full requirement to analyze at once. Okay, so they're not superheroes. And similarly, I would say from an analyst perspective, analysts will make data errors. If there is human, there is error. Okay, they will miss on promised timelines, and they will forget to instrument some key events in the product that in retrospect, they will think that, okay, this is missed out, and without this, the performance cannot be evaluated, right? So mistakes will happen and it's okay. Okay, there's nothing, don't just jump onto each other that why this mistake can happen and start pointing fingers or blaming each other. It will happen, it's okay. What we have to do is we have to stop judging and start supporting. Once we get that attitude that it's okay to make mistakes, but we'll support you and improve you, that is when the interlock will really improve. Okay, and after this, I will come to my final point. So the fifth point is the power of retrospectives. I've seen retrospectives happening in the tech teams. I've never, or very, very less time seen it happening with the product teams. Some good product teams have it, some do not have it. And even if the retrospects happen, they happen within only the tech and product. They do not happen with the analytics team. So, but retrospective should happen with everyone. So that's the power of retrospective. And as you would all know, it just discusses what went well, what caused the problem, and what can we do differently. And with a very, very open mind, and not to judge anyone, but really the focus is to improve each other. So I would say that what we can do is we can have bi-weekly retrospectives between the product analytics team and discuss just these 3 questions. And you will be amazed by the results, that how openly people are giving feedbacks and the type of exponential improvement you will see just in a month of doing these retrospectives. Okay. And how this helps is because open and continuous feedback is the key to building a strong team. If the team is not strong, product can never be strong. So guys, so this brings me to the end of the 5 points of a better interlock between PMs and BAs. I will conclude it by one image, which you can see as a takeaway. You can see there's a airplane and there are 2 pilots sitting here. So why did I pull this image in such a data science session? Okay, so I'll tell you that. The first is your product is an airplane. Okay, so these are 2 people sitting in a product. Your customers are your passengers. You have to take care of them. It's your responsibility to take them from one place to another. And that is also a way to solve their problem, what a product does. And the product managers and analysts are co-pilot given direction to this airship. They're not reporting to each other. They are not subordinate to each other. They are equal owners and they are co-pilots. So guys, this is the message I want to give you, and hope the way we see the product teams and the analytics team might change after this, and hope this was helpful. Thank you very much. And I'm open to questions after this.
That was indeed an insightful session, very intriguing. I'm sure that our audience too have found this very informative. You have explained why 2 will take to form a team, and you started off the interlocking sessions. My key takeaways from what I could grasp, defining the goal together, PM roles and analysts, and then continuous communication with equal partnership. There's nothing to be telling that one is higher than the other. Rather, you have to work together towards a goal and towards solving customers' problem. And discussing problem statements and not the task. That is one of the real good thing, and emphasizing and supporting each other. And I really like the last picture that you put up, and you said product managers and analysts are co-pilots giving direction to the airship. So customers are passengers. That was really a good one. Thanks a lot. Now it's time for some Q&A. So I could see one of the question being posted. It was for a product manager to be data driven and work along with the data analyst. Apart from SQL and Python, are there any programming languages or tools that one should be well versed with?
Okay, this is for a product manager. Is the question from a product manager?
Yeah, product manager perspective. Yeah.
Okay.
So in case if the product manager has to be data driven and to talk to an analyst, some bit of understanding of any programming languages or any tool that you would recommend that is a must to be known.
See, I don't think it's a must to know programming language because these are different skill sets. There is a reason why there's an analyst and why there's a product manager. Not everyone can do everything. Now, there are some ways in which the product managers can become more data driven. First is, even if you don't know the programming language, what you can do is you can talk to the analyst at a much deeper level, not at a superficial level, and ask them, if they can explain how you are doing it. Not at a code level, but what is your thought process? How you're building the KPIs for the product? How you're analyzing? When you analyze, what are the process that goes through it? For example, you generate hypothesis, then you analyze, then you build insights. Okay, so what's that process? You might build dashboard. What are tools you use? So you should be informed so that you know the process. If you know the process, you can empathize. Second is, in today's time, there are a lot of tools for self-serve analytics. For example, Khatabook uses Mixpanel. We are using Aptitude before. And there are so many tools which on the fly, you can create product funnels. You can create dashboards with zero need for coding. So I would really urge the product managers, if the companies haven't adopted self-serve analytics tool, you should do it, because you yourself can analyze data then. And what happens is when you are yourself analyzing data, you're not giving every problem to the analyst. You're only giving the real problem to the analyst, not what you think or is good to know. So this has really helped, especially in Khatabook, building a strong interlock between the two teams.
Okay. And Prashant has asked, I would like to see tips for improving PM and tech interlock. You have any words on that?
So I think the common issue I hear from all the techies is that they are not involved. They're just seen as a team who will develop the product. They do not even know what the end result is after the product is there. Whether the product is successful, what is going right, what is going wrong. So that is the problem. And because it's a continuous cycle, it keeps building on cumulatively. Okay. The couple of things that PMs can do to resolve this interlock is that first is when the techies have built the product, right? So it's their baby. So they need to know how their baby is growing. So involve them in some meetings where you're discussing the performance, give them the feedback. What is doing good, what is not doing good, appreciate them. How good they are. They'll always be mistakes. As I said, there can be no one without mistake. You have to empathize and support. This is equally relevant for any team, not only analytics, but tech team and design team also. Okay. And while you are building the PRD, take their inputs. So don't involve them at the end of the PRD. Involve them on day one. As I said, make your core team. Pick up one person from the tech team who you think can be your alter ego. Right, and discuss with your core team of PDTA. So I think that can help a lot.
Okay, and one question that I had was, suppose say things don't go well upon the product release, right? Maybe that was supposed to be your bread earning product. I mean, there was a lot of inputs, there were a lot of insights taken, and then maybe a period of 6 months it was developed and it was released, right? And then it doesn't do as good as supposed to be doing. Yep. Then in hindsight, so how would the analyst and the PM team come together and then solve this? How would they go back and say, okay, instead of blaming each other on what was to be done or what was not to be done? Yeah. Have you faced anything like that in the past? Could you share your experience on that?
Absolutely. We have had so many products, not in any company, but generally in my career, where we had to scale down, we have to close them down. It required 6 months of effort to build that product. It required 6 months of marketing efforts, analytics effort to analyze that. And after a year, we stopped it. Yeah. Right. See, the first thing we have to see is don't get emotionally attached to your product. Okay. Don't make it successful if it is not. It's get attached to the problem. There might be some other solution, and accept that if it has failed after much efforts that everyone has put, it's fine. We'll solve the problem. Don't lose heart. So why people start blaming is because they get too emotionally attached to the product that they do not want to let it go. And when they have to let it go, they feel bad, they feel hurt, and they start blaming. Whenever a person feels hurt, they blame. So, right, keep your focus on the problem. I think that would be a key thing if we can do. Second is, as I said, keep doing retrospectives. So it should not be one shot that at the end of the 1 year, you're saying a product is not successful. It never happens like that. Okay. Right. As the product is launched, on day one, you do an A/B test. In week 1, week 2, you know the retention numbers, you know adoption numbers, you get early signals. Keep sharing that signals with the entire PDTA team, because you might not have the solution, someone else might. So when the product will not work, everyone would have made an effort. And everyone would have been, would know that, okay, now this is not working at all. Let's think something else. So I think involvement, not getting too attached, and transparency can help this out.
And how would you define the metrics from a PM's perspective and from an analyst's perspective? Because would there be a scenario where one would want to track this thing for a success metric and the other one would say, that might not be a great idea, this could be something. So have you encountered such scenarios where you'll have to sit down and then decide on one North Star metric that you would be focusing on the product launch, right?
Yep. I have faced this a lot. And see, different people will have different KPIs, which they think are important. That is why the point one was important. Define the goal together. When you define the goal together, say my goal is engagement. There are only 4 metrics for tracking engagement. Your session time,
Right.
your amount of time spent, number of sessions, number of active days. There cannot be 100 metrics. So, right. So why different people have different opinions on KPIs? Because the goal is not the same in their mind. So once you finalize the goals, KPI will come. There can be a debate on which ones are more important than the other. I think that's fine. You guys can discuss and sort it out. If there is a rational discussion, it will come. They are different people who generally arbitrate such kind of discussions. It can be the product heads. It can be the data head. Who can pitch in and say, okay, now out of all these, I think these are important because they're generally more experienced with products. So that is how you can solve it.
Shama, you have anything on the portal? Any other questions that has come in?
No, I think we covered them all. Although there is one comment in the chat section by Basim.
Okay.
So his takeaways would be on emphasis on open attitude, involvement, learning and mistakes, and ownership among the team members. Do you agree, Arpit, to that?
I think that's a fantastic summarization of the complete session. Kudos and thank you, Basim, for writing that out.
Yeah, so I think we are good with the questions. And audience, once more, I want to give you all a chance to interact with Arpit. Please raise your hand and you can come live and ask your questions directly to the speaker. Alternatively, please type your questions in the Q&A window and we can take them right away. Thank you, Arpit, for that brilliant and engaging session. The keynote was captivating with relevant and useful insights, and I hope the audience has benefited immensely from this session.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to interact with all of you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, we have enjoyed having you with us, and it's been a complete pleasure. Please accept this certificate of appreciation from the Institute, a small gesture. So if you scan the QR code on the certificate, it'll take you a dedicated Hall of Fame page that we have created for you, which will hold a recording of this session.
Okay.
Right. So give it a few hours and you'll have the recording with you, and we'll upload the same recording on YouTube as well.
Okay, that's fantastic.
We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and amazing insights, Arpit. Thank you once again for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Arpit. Yeah. Thanks for your time.
And Sumanas, thank you for moderating this session seamlessly.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Audience, if you found today's keynote useful, take a few seconds to share your feedback, experience, and perspectives on the session and inspire others to join the subsequent editions that we're going to organize in the next year. Please scan the QR codes to share your feedback. Your feedback is critical for us to make improvements for the next round of the festival. Folks, one of the main purposes of hosting and conducting the Product Leadership Festival is to build and nurture a community in this country, a product community in this country. There's already a very strong, thriving community of 2,000 plus members where a lot of content is being shared by the product managers, CXO sharing their learnings and key insights. Please scan the QR code or click on the link in the chat window, community.productleadersforum.org, to join and grow with us.